Hey plant lovers, welcome to today's video. In today's video I'm going to be having a look at plants from kind of 4 to 9 months ago, sometimes a bit more, and just comparing them basically to how they look now. And yeah, we can do a side-by-side comparison and see which plants have grown the most, which plants have grown the least. So let's get started. So first up we have my neon pothos. And the comparison is from April, so this is about 6 months growth that you're seeing. And yeah, this one has grown really quickly, as you can see. It was a fairly small plant when I bought it. I haven't done any propagating for this one, it's just grown like this straight from the shop. And yeah, it's definitely one of the most satisfying plants to grow, I find, because I've seen progress on it really quickly, and yeah, that's my kind of plant. This one is definitely quicker than the Marble Queen as well. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to propagating this one next year, as I'd quite like to have a few more of these around my home, because they make great hanging plants. And yeah, this one's also really easy to take care of as well. So definitely get this one if you are looking for a fast grower. Next up is my Dieffenbachia, and this is about 8 months of growth. So the initial comparison is from February, and we're now in October, and you can see this one's grown quite a bit. It did actually slow down a little bit towards the end of the growing season because it was in flower, and flowers tend to slow down the growth of the foliage, but even so it's still grown loads of new leaves and it's sized up quite nicely. I found this one to be, I wouldn't say a really fast grower, but certainly not a slow grower either. And you can see that this one's grown a fair amount in those 8 months. I'm personally quite happy with how much this one has grown, and yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite plants. Again, it's super easy to care for as well, which is definitely my kind of plant. I like easygoing, fast growing plants that don't cause any trouble. Next is my Tradescantia, and this is actually 2 plants in one pot, so I've included before images of both of the plants, and this is only 4 months of growth, and you can see that it's grown a fair amount in just those 4 months. This one, I would say, is a real fast grower. Interestingly, it looks like maybe the pink one has grown faster than the other one, but this one is definitely a real fast grower, and yeah, it's also been super easy. I did repot this one when I got it, and I basically just kind of let it dry out and water it when it's dry almost, and it seems pretty happy. I'm thinking that this time next year I may have quite a prolific hanging plant, and I may have to rethink the pot it's in so it has a bit more space to hang as well. Next is my Aglaonema Silver Queen, and again this one is just 4 months worth of growth, but I'm really happy with how this one has grown. It's filled out quite a bit. Aglaonemas generally I don't think are the fastest growers, but for 4 months growth I think this is really good, and I'm pretty happy with how it's come along in this time. It has been flowering too, so that may have restricted the growth a little bit, but it seems to be doing really well, and yeah, it's filling out nicely. And this is definitely one of my favourite plants, definitely my favourite Aglaonema so far. And again, it's really easy to care for too, which is perfect for me. And yeah, I highly recommend this one for sure. I do really love the variegation on this one. It has stunning foliage. The flowers are nothing to write home about though, so I'd recommend cutting those off. Next is my Marble Queen, and this is about 5 months of growth. It's grown really well, and the interesting thing about this one is you can see it has the one reverted vine in there, and you can see from this how much quicker the solid green grows than the variegated leaves. And yeah, I quite like that about this plant. But even the variegated ones have made good progress. The plant is filled out nicely, and yeah, I really like this one. It has slowed down a bit now because we're now going into autumn here in the UK, but during the summer months it's been growing fairly quickly, and I think it does look a lot fuller, which is what we want. And yeah, I'm definitely going to keep this as a trailing plant come next year too. Looking forward to seeing it grow even more next year. And I'll probably do a bit of propagating as well with this one. Next we have the Philodendron Prince of Orange, and this is about 7 months of growth. It has got bigger, the leaves have definitely sized up, and it does have some new leaves, but this is definitely one of my slower growing plants. But I really like how it's kind of got bigger overall. But this one is fairly consistent. It is still putting out leaves at the moment, but it does tend to take some time to put one leaf out. Sometimes they get a little bit stuck. And yeah, it's not the fastest grower, but I'm kind of pleased with the progress. The leaves have definitely got bigger. I've had to move it into a space where it has a little bit more space to accommodate its longer leaves. And it seems to be a theme with philodendrons that they are fairly slow growing. This is my Philodendron Ring of Fire, and this is about 5 months of growth. Again, this one has been fairly slow to grow. It does put out new leaves fairly slowly, but it's definitely increased in size in circumference, and it needs a little bit more space to accommodate its size. But yeah, this one is a little bit more of a slower grower. Most of my philodendrons are. The only exception seems to be if you have like the Philodendron Brazil or something like that, but these upright philodendrons I find tend to grow fairly slowly. They do take a while to put out new leaves, but I still find them rewarding to grow. I really enjoy philodendrons, and I definitely can see myself getting more of these as time goes on. Next is my Monstera Adansonii, and this is about 7 months growth. When I bought this one, it was just at the top of its pole, and it's now reached the top and started to grow back down, and the vines are almost touching the floor, so it has grown fairly significantly. I've also propagated from this one, so I do have quite a lot of new plants that I made from this as well. But yeah, the vines have started growing back down and they've reached the bottom of the pole now. So it's either going to be a case of let it grow upwards or give it an extension, or even take some more cuttings at some point and make some new plants. But yeah, this one is a super fast grower. And this plant is one of those old classics that just always stays right at the top of my favourite list. I can see myself always having this plant in my collection, and it's one of the ones that I never ever get bored of. If you want a fast grower, I would highly recommend this plant. This is my Bloodleaf plant, and this is about 6 months of growth. I actually did chop and prop this one in order to encourage some branching, and that method seemed to work really well for this plant. It got it growing really well, and this one tends to branch really easily. Unfortunately, this one does have thrips at the moment. It's on its second treatment, so hopefully we are going to start seeing those going away soon, but it does have super thin leaves, so the thrips are loving it. It also needs watering quite a lot. The thinner a plant's leaves are, the more water it tends to need, but it does grow really well, and hopefully it will make it through the thrips and keep growing well for me after it comes through the other side. It is a really stunning plant. Next up, it's my Syngonium white butterfly, and this is about 9 months of growth. I've actually had this plant for longer than this, but this is the first time that I documented it back in January, and it was kind of an upright plant to start with, but this is a plant that starts to vine eventually, so I did end up putting it on a pole in order to give it something to climb, because they do get a bit messy otherwise. And you can see it's really taken to that pole really well. As well as growing upwards, it's also sprouted off all sorts of new baby leaves down in the soil as well. And this one does as well currently have thrips, so I am battling those, so that is affecting the plant a little bit, but I'm really hoping this one comes through again, because it is one of my favourite plants. So yeah, I'm a little bit sad that it has thrips, but it is doing well overall. This is the first time that it has had pests in all the years I've had it. Next is my Monstera Siltepecana, and this is about 9 months growth. As you can see, when I first got this one, it was quite small. It had one little vine, and I've chopped and propped this one many times over the last 9 months in order to create a fuller plant, and we have some pretty long vines coming off of it now. And yeah, I've just added loads more plants into the pot, so the idea is to get more of a fuller plant, but this one is definitely one of my fastest growers. And yeah, this one's kind of living its best life in the bathroom at the moment. It makes quite a nice trailing plant. You can let it climb if you want to, and the leaves do get bigger if you let it climb. But at the moment, I'm kind of just enjoying it as a hanging plant, and hopefully all these propagations will eventually start growing too, and that will give me even more vines. But yeah, this is a great plant for chopping and propping, as well as being a fast grower too. So what did you think of today's plants? Did any of them surprise you? Do you have any of these plants? Maybe they've grown differently for you. Let us know in the comments and let's have a conversation about it. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I've picked another video out for you here that you might enjoy to watch next, so please go ahead and check it out, and I'll see you in the next video.